So you mentioned these Mertens, and I had also read about Benteke, who went to Liverpool, he had spoke to you as well. And actually, I wanted to ask you if this type of training is also useful for senior level players as well, because we spoke about grassroots, obviously, because it's crucial, you know, because it lays the foundation. But would it be beneficial also for senior level players who maybe they're already at the elite level?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've trained the first team of Real Madrid with Mourinho, and I was curious. I had them a full week, and I wanted to know how are they going to react on these training sessions.
They because immediately.
They reacted immediately but for me the most striking thing at the end of the week was several of them, and I'm talking about big names, Sain and Dirabarmaz and well, at the end of the week, some of them had children, and they came to me and they said, Michel, do you have summer camps in your country? We want to send our children to you. That was for me the biggest victory I could have. They were fascinated. And also Mourinho said, do not underestimate what I had to do, because he is very straight. So when he first asked me to meet me, he said, I give you 1 hour to explain your ideas. But they already told me it's possible he will say after half an hour, sorry, but I don't believe what you're telling. This is not. So I need to be honest. I was not stressed, but I was expecting it would be a very difficult thing to convince him. After half an hour, he stopped my explanation, and I thought, now it's finished. He said, no. What do you want to drink? He got to the fridge, and he got me something to drink, and he said, go on. I was still there 2 hours later. And then he said, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my life. And I got a compliment. And then he said, I want you to demonstrate this with my first team. But the problem is, when you're arriving in a first team, it goes about competition performance. Because you have a small period at the beginning of the season that you can really introduce a number of new things. But once you are in the competition environment, it is simply having some tactical training sessions, checking the physical load. But you go from one game to another. Then it's not so easy. But then something special happened, because I was very happy with that, because it impressed Real Madrid. And a few years later, I was invited by Zinedine Zidane. And so they flew me in from Brussels, and I sat together with him, I think about 3 hours, and his technical staff. At that moment, he was still the coach of the second team. And then when I left, he said, I want you to be my assistant coach. I had the bad luck that the president asked him to take over the first team, because it was also a Spanish coach at that moment. I forgot. I think
Benitez was Benitez.
Benitez, yeah, because it was not working with Benitez, and then they convinced him to go to the first team, and then it stopped. Otherwise, he was really convinced I could help him a lot. And now I have the luck that, look, Eden Hazard is there. I also train Thibaut Courtois. They know what I'm doing. Yeah? So, but it is enormously difficult to integrate it in the first team. Although, if you use it in the period before the real season starts, it can have a tremendous influence. And that was also confirmed, because that's something I like a lot. When in Belgium people began to understand this is another view on football development, it's quite logical. The federation also accepted after some time. Okay, let's present it in the pro license courses. So what did happen? One day, my assistant could offer, I think, about 3 hours of practical training sessions with MBM, And then he was presenting it to all the former professional players, not only from Belgium, but also coming from abroad. And at the end, they said, but how is this possible? We do not get this in the courses, because this is what we need. I'm not saying this. It was actually said by famous football players. One of them is now the coach of Washington D.C., Hernan Losado, and I'm in contact with him through another coach, an Argentine coach who is actually representing the national team of Argentina. He works in Virginia, and they fully believe in what I'm doing. But this repeats itself many times, because when I did it in AC Milan, after one season, Aldo Dolcetti, who was the director, the technical director of the academy, got back to Juventus. For me, this was a big loss, because Aldo, I adore him. This is an open-minded man. He fully believed in what I was doing, and actually nobody could ignore it, because after 2 seasons, AC Milan had so many youth players in the national teams in Italy, and the Primavera was playing at a very high level, so the result was there. But Aldo got back to Juventus 1 year after, Stefano Baldini also, but a few people from Milan left to Juventus also through the fact that Allegri changed from Milan to Juventus. But then something special happens. One day I had a call with Aldo, and I asked him, because he was an assistant of Allegri, did you already use my ideas during the training sessions of the first team? He said, yes. And what was the reaction? He said, Pirlo came to me. He said, this is the best training system I've ever had in my life. Textually, So he passed the message to me. He said, Michel, do not have any doubt. It works. But the problem is the football world is so conservative that they struggle with it, and I understand all that. It's not so easy to change something you did many years, but I offered it. I was an assistant in second division in Holland. There I had big names. Tobias came from Ajax. When I started with the head coach to use my drills, at first he said, well, what's all this? Then, after some time, he came to me. He said, I have to excuse myself because I didn't believe this was possible. I am really playing much better. So it repeats itself every time, but it's not easy. I did it in Chiasso in Switzerland, first team. A player of one of the defenders, an older player coming from Atalanta. I was curious when I spoke with him. I even gave him a sensible session. And I asked him, what do you think? He said, but I do not understand. You have to defend all this because I experienced it. How is it possible that we are not open for this? So it's unbelievable but it is actually explained by one thing, the big misunderstanding. And this is what Guardiola is also confirming. I can send you the video when they ask Guardiola, what is for you the most important thing? You know what he says? I don't believe in physical training sessions. Physiology for me, my players, they are young. They all have a physical level. That's something you can influence very easy. It only goes about the brain, the mind. And then he explains it. He said, okay, you asked me this question. First half, we are losing. We are not playing well. Second half, we score a goal. Suddenly, everything changes. Does this come from the muscles or does it come from the mind? He said, my assistants tell me energy is low. They score and suddenly they have energy again. He said, football is played with your brain, not with your muscles. The brain is controlling everything: your energy, your intelligence in the game, your technical skills, your decision making, your mentally capacity. He said, I don't believe in physical training sessions. And for me, it was not a surprise because, we were very close to him when I worked in AC Milan. They spoke with him because they wanted to know what I was telling. It was correct. But there's something I will never forget. And everybody can read this in the book written about the period Guardiola trained Bayern Monaco, Bayern Munich. Because he himself says at a particular moment, I thought when I arrived in Bayern Munich, I was going to work with the best players of the world. To be honest, they cannot play football. You can read it in his book, Herr Pep. I wanted to know why he was telling all that. And it's very simple, because after a few weeks when he was training those players, they asked him, can we have a small meeting? We want to speak to you. He said, okay, you have to speak with me because I have to help you to play at a very high level. And you know what their problem was? In the yearly preparation period, they always go to the same place. They were used every day at the end of a training session to run up and down a hill. So a very physical organization. So their question was, Coach, why don't you ask us to run up and down 20, 30 times this hill after a training session? He said, but it's not because you're going to run up and down a hill. You can play football in a better way. So their mindset was actually controlled by old ideas. And then I had the luck in Qatar. When I was in Qatar, I could assist all the training sessions of the biggest clubs in Europe, Bayern Munich, Man United. What I saw, I will never forget, I saw Arjen Robben together with Ribéry. Unbelievable. And even Arjen confirmed it. Before Guardiola, he actually played two positions. We have the video analysis. Mm-hmm. After a short period of training sessions with Guardiola, he played 8 different positions on the pitch. And then we go to what I love the most, intelligent football. But if you want to do this, you have to look to your training sessions in a different way. And then I will tell you what is the key. You know, the key in learning is attention, concentration, orientation. Not only on a pitch, in whatever you are doing. Because a lot of people think a child arrives in a classroom, sits down, it can learn. Forget it. You do not know if the switch is on. Imagine it is a child organized in a way that it only will have enough energy from 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And we think it arrives at 8:30 in the classroom. Let's go for it. Oh no, the natural rhythm is not there. The natural energy will only arrive 1 or 1.5 hour later. And if the attention is not on, forget it. This is something not I'm telling. Then you have to read How We Learn from Stanislas de Hane. Exciting book. But if you stop reading this, you will be disappointed. You will say, but what did they do with me so many years? And this is the exciting story. It starts, actually the 4 pillars are attention, concentration, orientation, active engagement. Then the third step is make as much errors you can make, because we all think if it's perfect, it's okay. No, you have to make errors. And then the last part is consolidation, means sleep and memory. Memory means that you can go to the top in whatever you are doing. But what we do in many training sessions on the pitch, we only use the working memory or the short-term memory. Retention is not there. And that explains a lot.